Hello, Fightful Faithful. Welcome to another episode of Sour Graps, the Play edition. It's Stand,
And deliver.
and I'm gonna be sitting mostly. I don't know if you want to stand, but we're gonna deliver a review of this show, this PLE.
Yeah, we are.
The highest attendance for any NXT event.
Mhm.
16,545. So it's probably around 14 grand, something like that, maybe 13, depending on how charitable they want to be with themselves. But undoubtedly, the product, at least here with this hot, biggest match in NXT history, the main event tonight. We got title matches. We got a big title change. I mean, a bunch of nonsensical stuff, but that's to be expected because it's HBK's NXT.
Sure.
So we're going to go through all that. We're going to probably try and get out of here around the second match of WrestleMania Night 1 so we can dive into that, and because we go long, but we won't go long this time. There's only 5 matches to talk about, 6 with the PLE with the pre-show. So I don't know. I'm rambling here, Kate. You can tell I'm a little.
You're also lulling people into a false sense of security that you didn't hate this, which I didn't hate this nearly as much as you. But before we dive into it, get in those super chats, get in those humper chats at humperchats.com if you have a question or statement that you would like addressed on air. We'll also ask you to leave a thumbs up on this video. And of course, we're going to remind you to subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. Scoops all week and weekends. We're going to bring on Corey Brennan in a minute to talk to you about all of the work that he's been doing around NXT and all the scoops he has. Plenty more to come with nights 1 and 2 of WrestleMania. I got to meet my boss this week because we're in Philly. That was cool. I got to see Righteous Reg. I saw Denise Salcedo. I'm here at my parents' tonight doing your Stand and Deliver post show, as well as your night 1 of WrestleMania post show / collision watch along, which should be very fun. So please tune in for those. If you are a Fightful Select subscriber, there will also be Shawn live on the main feed as well. Tons happening this weekend. There was a Fightful Select pre-show, maybe still going on. Tons of content coming for you, but we're gonna think of a pun topic while Corey comes on and talks to you about scoops. I think that's what we're gonna do, Alex.
Yeah,
So
I'll
use my
over. Noggin. I'll mull over a pun topic, and
there's not like good standing and delivering puns.
No,
like that's not a thing.
I like your idea of delivery.
Delivery puns? Okay.
Yeah, like
you just hated it on Tuesday.
I did because it wasn't the actual day of standing and delivering.
Right,
so here you have a choice: things that stand or things that deliver.
And you should deliver on those puns in your super chats and humper chats, but choosing not to be a coward once again and always delivering for us, Corey Brennan, killing it on the scoop side of things. As always, we had a lot of news breaking on FightfulSelect.com going into this week. A lot of news that paid off and was confirmed during this pay-per-view. PLE, excuse me. I thought it was actually a more fun show from top to bottom. I didn't mind it as much. I saw a lot of the things that you had talked about, Corey, in the scoops leading up to this that kind of did pay off. And we're going to talk about those confirmations and also the news that you've been breaking over the past 24 to 48 hours or so. Corey, why don't you kick off where you're at scoops-wise? We can date back to everything going on with Julia all the way up till now. I'll let you steer the ship from this point on.
All right. Really, the main thing is Julia. There's a lot of details about Julia that'll be coming to Select in the next few days. It's my belief that she is signed, but if she is not signed, she will be by the end of WrestleMania weekend. That's my belief right now. I've been told that she is signed, but I haven't been able to fully confirm yet. I have confirmed the same thing that Dave Meltzer also confirmed, that they did offer her a lot more money than AEW did. Sure. AEW's offer was a lot lower. That's what I did hear about that as well. I've heard that a lot of people were very excited to see her backstage at the show. A lot of the NXT talent, especially the women side of the roster, were very happy to see her, and were like kind of just getting to know her, even as what I was described for me. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going on with her with Rossy's promotion. We all know where that's going at this point. I did say in the report that she would be finished during the dates, but I did not properly clarify, so I will now. That does include her dates that with Rossy's promotion. I would not expect to see her. I would put a soft timetable on possibly being in NXT and being a member of the active roster at Battleground. I can see her. I can see her that being her big moment where she kind of her first moment on screen outside of sitting in the crowd. So just so much to unpack with Julia, and I'll probably be doing a more detailed report. Shawn will probably have a lot of info to put in.
So many scoops. So many scoops to come still down the line, but some excitement for Julia in the chat from Ricardo saying, can't wait to see Julia take over America. She is an incredible talent. I got to see her at, what did I see her at? Multiverse in a 4-pack with Deanna and Giselle Shaw and Momo. She was fantastic. She's one of those performers that if you get a chance to see live, I would really encourage you to do so, because some people just have that extra added kick when you see them live, and she's definitely one of them. We've seen a lot of Joshi kind of influx on the main roster. Obviously, it's kind of cool to get someone in NXT here. Obviously, a ton of controversy with the Rossy stuff as well. So stay tuned. I'm sure more details will be coming, but we saw a ton of Stardom crossover on the Ring of Honor side. So if Rossy is working with WWE, I'm a big believer in the Forbidden Door side of things. Cross promote as much as you can, but Julia was not the only scoop that there was. I'll let you talk about more in a second, but one thing that I wanted to call to the forefront was you had reported that Roxanne was receiving some really wonderful feedback to the point where there were people that wanted her to stay in NXT and be champion, which looks like that's the route that they went. And also people that thought she was main roster ready. She's very young. I don't think there was a right or wrong decision. I don't know if she needs a 1.5-year reign. She's a 2-time champion now, hoping the second reign is booked better, but nice to see another Fightful Select scoop confirmed by Corey's reporting here, playing out on screen. Did you have an inclination based on what you were hearing which way they were going to go with this, or did you feel like it was a 50-50 shot?
It felt like to me like there was a lot more people than I'd heard pushing for Roxanne, and there was a lot of talk about not that she's not ready, more the fact that there's not really a position for her on the main roster right now, and they've been much more careful with this. I think I talked about it on Tuesday, Kate. They're not rushing people up anymore. That's something that's been said to me is very much a thing in the past. Even though Melo's been marked for some time, like there's still talk that he might not come up till midsummer. Like, so when it comes back to, so just bringing it back to this match, I didn't really see Lyra winning. Like, I didn't, from what I'd been told, like Lyra isn't someone that they don't see something, and they obviously do, but there was something with this reign that just didn't click. I think that's something that everyone can kind of see. Like, she had the big moment beating Becky, but since then it's kind of been it just hasn't been what everyone kind of thought it was end up going to be, and that was kind of the feeling that I got off who I spoke to. And the feeling is that Roxanne never really had that same kind of thing with her title reign. So now it feels like a make good almost, at least from my perspective anyway. That's not a report, that's just my perspective. I need to clarify that. But yeah, I had the feeling Roxanne was going to win. But yeah, it was close to 50-50.
Gotcha. Okay. See, now that's also interesting because you did mention that on Tuesday that there's been more conversations about the main roster transitions, but you said that Carmelo might not go up until July. I was very surprised that we had a tag team retention tonight with everything that's going on with Bron and signing on screen to the SmackDown roster. So is there any more clarity around that? Because it doesn't seem, that synergy doesn't seem to be playing out on screen as much as it sounds like those conversations are being had.
Yeah.
Is that more from like a performance evaluation perspective of we don't want to call people up before they're ready to be main roster stars rather than the stories being the thing that brings them there?
It's kind of a mixture of that, plus it's a case of they are very aware that they can't leave NXT high and dry. There's been times where they've done these call-ups after Mania or after SummerSlam, and they've brought up maybe 6 or 7 people at once, and they've just gutted the top stars of the brand. And then then there's time where they're building that brand up, and that's when the ratings go down. That's when people are losing interest in the show. Like, it just feels like to me like they're much more in sync than what they were when, say, Vince was in charge. It's very much a case of Triple H and Shawn Michaels just being on the same wavelength with a lot of things. Like for example, tonight, I was going to say this after, but it's a good point. Like, whenever Vince McMahon was at a show when he was head of creative, we've all read the reports, we've all heard it from people's mouths. He took over. Triple H was at tonight's show, but he was very much just an observer. Sure, he apparently he had ideas that he said to Shawn, but it was very much Shawn's ship. So that's something that is almost a refreshing thing for me, at least, to hear anyway. So we saw that tonight because it was very much, a lot of people are saying, oh, it felt like a takeover. That's what a couple of people said, that it did feel like a takeover. I didn't feel like it was. I felt like it was very much a testament to Shawn Michaels as NXT. That's the vibe I got off tonight.
For better or worse.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, Alex.
It is Shawn's NXT for sure. Some of the stuff that he does is well, it's certainly his own. So much so that he just does his own storylines from back in the day. But whatever decisions he's making, good or bad, it's a Shawn thing. This does not feel like Triple H's old black and gold to me at all.
No.
Yeah, and from what you said about Vince too, I remember Raw after Mania, Shawn said that he used the phrase like he sounded like the Tasmanian devil, like he was coming in.
Yeah.
Raw after Mania was like catastrophically bad. That was Alex, if you remember when Seth Rollins came out saying his theme and then did nothing. That's one of my favorite clips of our show. And
how could I forget?
So it is nice to hear that there's just a little bit more ease and that there's a little bit more clarity around who's doing what. So that is wonderful to hear. I hope as a viewer that the creative also catches up with that, because it is a little confusing to have tag team champions here and then make a big deal out of the signing on NXT with Bron. So the bigger picture is the development of those long-term stars that you have, right? So it makes sense. I'm just glad that we had that extra layer of clarification. But anything else that you want to talk about while we have you here, Corey?
We have a question. We have a question from the people.
From the people.
What does Rossy have to do with Julie and NXT since he's starting his own company, or is WWE trying to do something with maybe working with him?
I haven't really heard a lot about the promotion. Like, a lot of what I've heard has been mainly just about Julia and NXT.
Right.
But I feel like, it was stressed to me that like the reports on Rossy, it's helping Rossy with his promotion. That is something that she is doing. Like, this isn't a case of she's going to be on NXT on Tuesday. That's why I believe it'll be Battleground, because that gives her time to help Rossy set it up, bring people in, so on and so forth, and then she can go on and do her own thing. Do I think that it's impossible that there isn't a working relationship? No, I haven't heard anything to suggest that there isn't, nor that there is, but I'd say it would be ignorant to assume that there isn't anything going on there. At the very least, there's negotiations going on. So do I think that it'll be a massive working relationship? No, but at the bare minimum, I expect to see something like what happened with Evolve, to be honest.
Sure. Well, you have Evolved. The All Japan door was open for better or for worse, right? And then this weekend we saw a bunch of crossover with Bloodsport. I'd been hearing all weekend that like half the Raw roster was at Bloodsport to support Shayna, and Charlie Dempsey was there. So encouraging signs on that front that WWE is breaking out of their own universe a little bit and doing stuff. Because I will say, being in Philadelphia, it did inject a little bit more life into the wrestling diehards, I think, that are excited to see Shayna Baszler and Bloodsport against Masha Slamovich. Like, it didn't feel like, as a hardcore fan, you're like, well, I signed up to go watch the sports entertainment thing. Like, now you're kind of getting some love back for being a fan that's a fan of a different style and getting to see some of your favorite wrestlers wrestle in different styles. So very encouraging signs across that front. If you are not up on Stardom drama, which I admittedly am also not, but I do know as much that Rossy used to own Stardom. If you're wondering what the hell we're talking about, if you're in our chat and tuning in to talk NXT, Rossy used to own Stardom. He broke off to start his own promotion. Stardom is working very closely with AEW now ever since that change in leadership. And it sounds like there's a potential working relationship between Rossy's new promotion and WWE. We'll see if that comes to fruition. But Julia, the linchpin of Stardom, followed Rossy out of Stardom and is now looking like she's going to NXT. So that is the 411 to catch you up on that if you are just an NXT watcher wondering what the heck we're talking about. But Corey, anything else before you get out of here and we dive into this review?
I do want to answer that question as well that just came up. I just want to point this out now. It's very, 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 very unlikely that this is going to be NXT Japan. And let me just explain why. They can't even get NXT Europe off the ground.
Yeah.
They can't even get NXT Europe off the ground. That is, they haven't reached out to any British talent, any Irish talent, any European talent whatsoever. There's so much talent in Europe that filling a roster would be easy as hell. And from who I've spoke to in the English and Irish scenes, they're all waiting for it. It's not like a case of they're resisting like NXT and WWE or anything. It's so I don't see
they had NXT UK. Like it's that easy that they've done it before and that they're not implementing it, right? So they have a white hot product right now. And they changed ownership recently in WWE, right? So it might take more alignment to make those things come to fruition and more desire, more energy because they don't need to right now.
Right.
It just feels like it's such a like Japan is such even a different market to Europe, where Japan it's wrestling is just a whole different ballgame to the people in Japan. So WWE coming in and poaching a lot of talent would be seen as it wouldn't go well. So I don't see WWE putting that money and that effort into a brand when they can just establish a working relationship with Rossy. If Rossy wants it, which we can only assume he does, and just work with it that way, because worst comes to worst, like for WWE's perspective anyway, it comes like Evolve and they use it like that, like they used Evolve. So it's a win-win for WWE to establish this working relationship.
Guys, if you're just tuning in now, we're going to get into our stand and deliver review, but we do have Corey on here with the scoops. I noticed our viewers went up, so I just wanted to clarify if people were wondering, what is this lovely fellow who Kate always calls a coward with a beautiful accent doing on the show? We're talking some scoops that got confirmed by Corey. And you guys can get in your super chats and your humper chats like Will has been doing, saying, have you heard how long the women's North American title was in the works? That got revealed on the pay-per-view or the PLE. Someday I'll get that right as well.
The first thing I heard about a secondary women's title coming to NXT was in December, I believe. There was talk of a belt being made, but I couldn't confirm it. There was just no verifiable details about it, so I didn't report it. And that's how it works. But what I did find out today, I didn't really hear anything else about it from there. But from after the announcement, I learned that it was in plans for quite a while. This is something that took them quite a while to decide the right time to implement. And I think it was a case that they had a couple of injuries that they were waiting for to come back. And obviously some of them did get re-injured. Nikita Lyons, I always pronounce her name wrong if that's wrong. Cora's knee gave out again.
Yeah.
But obviously, of course, then at the same time, they also got Sol Ruca back and so on. So there's so many women in that division that I feel like that belt was probably in plans. I would hazard to guess at least, I'd say since September. That's just me guessing because based off what I've been told. Because I haven't been told anything concrete. So this is something that's been in plans for a while. I know for a fact that they were very, very this whole this branding thing that the whole company has where the women's titles have to be white. That was something that got a little bit of pushback is what I'm told. They wanted it to be closer to the men's title belt with the same kind of same kind of shade of color on the belt, very much almost a replica. But obviously, I think that would have been a bad decision. The white belt looks absolutely gorgeous, in my opinion, and I do like that there is that differentiating factor. So yeah, I've no idea when they're going to actually introduce the title, but the early things that I've heard is just going to be a tournament. So a lot of people who, let's say, complain about tournaments too much will probably love that. So
I love tournaments. I just like it when they're booked properly.
Yeah.
Tournaments are like my favorite. I'm a New Japan gal. I love me a tournament. I just like brackets. That makes sense, Corey. Cowardly Corey.
Kate loves most tournaments. I like good tournaments, so I like few tournaments.
I love tournaments. They're my favorites. I think that is all the questions that we have for you. So we're going to kick you off because you are a coward, but not today. You chose to come in with the scoops. We appreciate your clarification on some of the pre-existing stuff and also some more information on Julia. But if there was ever a time to subscribe to Fightful Select, not only for Corey Scoops, but you get me and Alex behind the paywall talking nights 1 and 2 of WrestleMania. Tons more coming from Shawn. I know that to be true. Some AEW news that'll be coming down the pipe as well. So subscribe to Fightful Select if you haven't. Best $5 in the biz. In addition to all this extra WrestleMania content that you get, you always get me and Alex doing pay-per-view post shows over there. Except when it's NXT, we do that on the main. You also get scoops around the clock and bonus podcasts and all sorts of special edition things, breaking news podcasts, and access to the Fightful Select Discord. So head over there to describe, read more details about what Corey outlined for us today and has been absolutely killing it, not only on the NXT side, but we got some SmackDown news from him the other day too. Really great stuff, Corey. We thank you so much and get some rest because I know your sleep clock is messed up, even though it's like 8 o'clock your time now. It's going to be a long one for you, so go get a nap.
I'm not going to sleep for at least 12 hours at this point, so no nap for me.
Go get a coffee. Go get an energy drink. Go get whatever your power through is going to be.
I've got to do at least like 10 more victory laps anyway. So
yeah, no, but that'll be good. It'll keep the blood pumping.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
do those victory laps.
Get keep me going.
You can tell he is under the wing of Shawn Ross Sapp because there's going to be an awesome gift game happening over on Twitter. Go follow Corey at Corey Brennan FF on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. We're going to get your review underway. But Corey, thank you so much for coming on.
See you guys. Enjoy the show.
Thank you so much. You're a coward. I had to get it in.
Come on. That's not fair. He came on. He was so nice to us. And then,
I know, but that's not what the bit is, Alex. I have to commit to the bit.
I get it. Believe me, I understand. I understand bits. Ricardo just sent in an appreciation chat for Maggie K.
Maggie is so wonderful and so underrated in our space, and you should watch Coexisting with her all the time because, I mean, it's not on all the time. It's on Fridays at 3 o'clock Eastern, but you should go watch it all the time because she's great.
And then Maggie says, how does Kate have such a long-ass day and still look like a queen?
Oh, stop. Bad lighting and a lot of makeup.
Okay, so on the early thing.
It's the
pre-show, whatever it is, the early thing, the early bird special.
I actually didn't see the pre-show. I was at WrestleCon and I was talking to Mustafa Ali and Maria Kanellis.
Mm-hmm. So they should, if you're gonna do the NXT thing at like 9 a.m. Pacific or like 8:30 is when the actual match goes on. So 8 a.m. is when you should it's not the kickoff, it's not the pre-show, it's the early bird special. That is what you have to call it for the matinees. On the early bird special, Ava reminding Adrian Butler who is the referee to use his Jonathan discretion,
of course,
later tonight. Which is good because I did not know that she had done that on the pre-show and on the early bird special until I saw this, because she had instructed an entirely different referee who did not referee the main event earlier in the on Tuesday. Hey, I want to make sure you know that when you are refereeing the main event, we must have a winner. So you use your discretion.
Your Jonathan discretion.
I don't know how to tell you this. I'm not refereeing.
He was like,
ooh. It's not me.
I can use it, but I'm not calling it. So.
We'll do that. So that's good. The weird thing was that Ridge Holland was on the pre-show panel just standing around, and they were like, hey, How's
Didn't
it
you
going?
retire last week?
I guess he retired from in-ring action, but now he's an analyst.
I mean, he's on that Nigel McGuinness grind, but that was fast.
I don't know. He was there and he's like, yeah, well, obviously this is what I think about all the things that are happening on the show tonight, and this is my Ridge Holland. And I'm like, okay, that's cool that he's there. And then so they do the actual match. They do Shawn Spears versus Joe Gacy. Shawn Spears comes out and they have to hold him back from attacking Shawn Spears as he enters. And then Joe Gacy enters, and I guess they figure they don't have to hold him back from attacking Joe Gacy, so he attacks Joe Gacy. He walks up behind Joe Gacy and hits him in the back with a chair, and then drops the chair and leaves. And I'm like, what? I obviously that it was all a ruse, the retirement thing, but it was also not. It was also one of those deals of like Shawn Spears looking at this, going, "What's happening?" So this was not your master plan to turn him to your side. Also, Ridge Holland wanted to attack Shawn Spears, but then if he couldn't, he decided he was going to attack Joe Gacy instead, which makes zero sense. Fine. Shawn Spears and Joe Gacy were great. It was a really good match.
I tuned in about, I think 3 minutes into the actual match part of it, and I thought it was really, really strong. To the chair spot, if I was Shawn Spears, I would have been like, I mean, I know people use steel chairs, but that's like my thing right now.
That's
so
like
if you could like
thing?
lay off, it's like
my
thing. I'm literally the chairman.
He should have done the same thing Natty did when Lola won with a sharpshooter. He'd been like, he should have done one of those. But he didn't. Anyway, Joe Gacy won, which did surprise me because this looks like it's going to be some kind of weird. Ridge Holland attacked Joe Gacy, so
and it had no effect on him, I guess.
No. I mean, we saw that man get thrown onto his everything from a very tall distance by Oba Femi, and he was like, "Give me Shawn Spears anyway."
DIJAK may or may not have thrown him in a river. We still don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. So I'm because I'm fine with Joe Gacy winning. There's a lot of like, what is this with Shawn Spears, Ridge Holland, Joe Gacy? Is this a weird like three-way feud? I guess I don't understand why they're going to have to do a lot with the promo, with a promo if they do one, or a video package or something, or an interview to make me understand why Ridge Holland attacked Joe Gacy because he wasn't able to get to Shawn Spears. And also then if it is just because I wanted to hit somebody because I'm so violent, I'm such a violent person, then Joe Gacy would be like, but why me, man? And maybe that's how I don't know. It just feels kind of nonsensical, but okay.
I think the way you do this is it's just you sort of a video package and it's just Drew McIntyre going, I prayed for this and it happened. And that's it. It's just anything that Drew prays for happens. It's like a very not Westworld. Westworld, what's the name of the show? Where it's like someone's manipulating the whole town. They become self-aware. Westworld?
Are you talking about the Truman Show?
No. It's a TV show, and I can't remember the name of it, which would be a great joke if I could. But anyway, you're right. This makes no sense. I do think they're going to go with this, like, Ridge Holland couldn't stay away thing, right? Like, the violence is just overcoming him. He couldn't even retire. He couldn't put it down. He just had to hit whoever he could in the moment. It is Westworld. I did it.
Yeah, I think it was Westworld.
Killed it.
The Cowboys?
Sure. I can't watch scary shows, you know that, but the idea that someone's manipulating the... I'm a big sissy. You know this about me. It's a guy from Silence of the Lambs is in it, and he is. It's scary. Anyway, the point being, he controls the whole universe, and I think Drew McIntyre should control the whole universe because he's the greatest character in the whole wide world. But the point here is, I think you're right. I think it's going to be Ridge Holland couldn't even retire. He's too called back to this by violence. I don't love that it kind of makes him look like, we're a half hour into this, a little bitch. And because Joe Gacy, whilst impervious to pain, maybe justified by his previous actions, kind of feels still like, what a waste of a chair shot then, if it's not going to really have that big of an effect on him.
Right.
So that part is a little bit bothersome, but I really liked the match. Joe Gacy actually getting to wrestle with some consistency is really refreshing. And I also like that even this iteration of Joe Gacy, because this is something you and I would complain about, and we would be right. Even though he's a character that can take losses, because that's not the dominant thing, is wins and losses with a guy like this, him still being kept strong with wins like this is pretty good. So I'm glad he's getting wins because I want him to feel important on the show. Shawn Spears is going to need one soon, though, too.
Right. Of the two guys, the guy who needs the win the most is Shawn Spears. I don't think it's even remotely close. He just lost. Fair. He just lost to DIJAK to get into the North American title thing. He just showed up. He said, "Ridge Holland, I'm coming for you." Beat Ridge Holland, which made him retire, and then Ridge Holland wants more of Shawn Spears, but instead attacks Joe Gacy, which leads to Joe Gacy beating Shawn Spears. If you were just reciting what I said while sitting on a subway, they'd call the police and have you escorted off the subway because you're obviously a lunatic. So, you know what I mean? It doesn't make any friggin' sense.
Sure.
So that's the thing with this is now you got to start making sense. You know what's easiest to do is to make the stories make sense as you tell them and not wait for a certain point, realize everything that you've told doesn't make sense, and then try and retcon it. That's harder to do. So make it do that. Hey, Ryan Lambert says hi from WrestleCon, sending y'all some love. Thank you so much, Ryan Lambert.
If you see me there next time, say hi, because I'll be back there. I think it's still going on tomorrow. What day is it? I don't know what's going on in life.
Yeah. The Metaphor promo, I'm assuming, was up all of your alleys. And it was good. I liked it. Here's what it did.
You loved it.
Lash Legend doing Andre Chase proves to me that I was right all along about Andre Chase, because it makes no sense. Just screaming at your students, just having somebody else do the bit is see, I'm right. It doesn't make any freaking sense. So
and someone who's so far away from that world, she's so cool and strong and badass and charismatic for her just to be an angry teacher.
Yeah. Yes. It was just this is a thing. It's a gimmick nobody can do. Nobody can do the gimmick. I thought their little thing was very good.
Of course, it was great.
It is a weird thing that they have now where you're hosting. But what that means is you do a video package at the beginning of the show. You announce the attendance. You might have some backstage bits, but you don't host the show. You know what I mean? This is what the thing that they call it. So I liked the stuff that they did, but I wish they had actually done more, honestly.
Me too. I want Noam Dar involved in everything all the time. So I wish there was more. I feel like if you're holding a play that early, you should be handing out coffee as the host. I feel like
coffee and donuts for everybody.
I think so. I think that's fair. Yeah. At least for the cheap seats. It was cold this morning. My God. Yeah. But I will say, I do like what they did. I can always use more Noam Dar on my screen. It does feel kind of weird that the Heritage Cup was so heavily focused on and Noam Dar was such an important part of it that they didn't have anything for him to do outside of hosting here. His character and the Metaphor are so great. And I'm glad that they were on the card and they were very good at doing this. I just also really love Noam Dar in the ring when they're not doing a bunch of overbooking interference stuff. So I would have liked to have seen him wrestle for real. But he's great. He's the best. I love him so much.
It's possible I missed this because I was moving from room to room with different TVs playing it. Did I miss a segment where somebody we have who's going to go interview Strick Williams, and Lash Legend was like, me, please, me. I want to go in his locker room by myself. Was that a thing that they did?
I don't think so.
Because it feels like that's a thing they needed to do, right? Like, or are they just never going to pay off the weird kiss thing between them? I know they're a couple in real life, but like their characters aren't. So to do that weird kiss thing they did, that they made a big deal out of it, and then not play it off at all on the show that Lash Legend is co-hosting, where he is in the main event, feels like, I don't know, at least a small missed opportunity. I feel like maybe they never even bring it up ever again. That's a very good possibility in NXT.
It is. And I did see Luis just called it out in the chat that they did it for Oba and Thea, but not about Trick. Yeah. So that is weird. They were hanging out at Wally Mania together, just some like red carpet inside scoop TMZ nonsense for y'all. Yeah, that is a little weird. Mm-hmm. A little bit weird.
Anyway, so we started off the main card with the Wolf Dogs versus the Blurry Boys. And so I just came up with that literally 5 seconds ago.
It's so good. It's the kind of thing that only comes up when you're delusionally tired from watching wrestling this much.
The Blurry Boys, so named because when they come out for their entrance, they're blurry. And they run really fast. So again, this is what I thought when they booked no Good Brothers in this match for Philadelphia after doing 4 weeks. I should have asked this question of Corey. Corey, why would you run all the vignettes backstage with the Good Brothers and the Wolf Dogs talking shit to each other about Philadelphia and not put the Good Brothers in the Philadelphia title match? Do you have any insight? Can you look up for me when it was decided that they were going to do the Blurry Boys versus the Wolf Dogs? No Good Bros, yes Blurry Bros. When was that decided? Because it feels like it was a very recent decision. And it feels like somebody said, honestly, we don't really have anything for Bron to do on SmackDown right now.
But so why did they make such a big deal of this?
Again, it feels like somebody said, let's bring him up. And then they were like, okay, but what are we going to do with him though? Afterwards.
Yes.
So the problem is you got to actually have that question, what are we going to do with him though, happens before you do the on-screen signing of the contract, before he squashes guys in 2 seconds with a spear, before you do a whole vignette thing where it's like, he runs this fast, he lifts this much, like all that stuff. That the question of what are we going to do with him should be asked and answered before all of that stuff on SmackDown. But I do think they said we don't have anything for him to really do. They'll just squash a guy every other week. We don't have a storyline for him to be in. So we think a better use for him is getting some reps doing tag stuff with Baron in NXT, because the Wolf Dogs are a really great tag team.
They are, and I'm wondering if that's actually it.
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have anything for him to do on the main roster as a singles guy anyway, but we really love this tag energy because they're great together. I said earlier, I think maybe his ceiling is like a 5-time tag team champion where he's the hot tag guy who murders people. Maybe he never reaches the level that we thought he did when he was the NXT champion, but he's still got a really great career ahead of him as the ultimate hot tag guy. And he's got a singles run in there as well, probably too. But like that kind of a thing. What he's doing, proving now, is he's amazing as a tag wrestler. I mean, who would have thought the son and nephew of the Steiner brothers is really good at being tag team guy? But like, I think that somebody said, let's keep them as the champs in NXT for a while. That's a better use of his time and growth than you're on SmackDown now, and you're going to squash a guy every 3 weeks. We're going to run vignettes for you, but we don't know what we're going to do with you. So I think, unless they have plans for him to like surprise Logan Paul in an open challenge and beat Logan Paul with a spear to become the U.S. champion, like that, if the plans are not at least that, I think being NXT champion with a run through Battleground, maybe all the way to Heat Wave, is the best thing they can do for them. I think probably the people who beat them for the titles will wind up being the Good Brothers, just not now.
It was very weird to me that they made that pivot as well. It made me think, I was like, is somebody injured? And I was like, no, we just saw them in action. And they actually looked great. Especially right. Louise's guy, Machine Gun. So I am also confused about that. Maybe we will. I'll ask Corey offline about that because I'm very interested to know that too. I feel like it might have gone the other way where they were like, we're going to call Bron up. And then the match was awesome. Let's also start there. Match was great.
This is the third time we've seen this match. It's always been great. And it's always had the same result.
That part, and they're not agented all that differently either. Like, they're very similar. That being said, both teams do some really outstanding stuff. So I feel like they're like, well, if it ain't broke, but that doesn't make the story very exciting. Mm-hmm. I feel like we got a ton of story, but I feel like we got a ton of fun tag wrestling in this. I'm also wondering because Bron with Baron Corbin is also the best he's done character-wise, I think. The heel turn was really beneficial for him. Mm-hmm. And then this like tweener role thing kind of emerged. And this is the best we've seen him do with anything comedic with Baron Corbin. And I wonder if they also are trying to keep that security blanket around him for that side of things. Because if you're not going to immediately pair him with Paul Heyman, he's not the world's strongest promo, but he definitely, it's incredibly clear, feels very comfortable with Baron Corbin. Because it's the most at ease we've seen him. So I wonder if on SmackDown we're going to get a "this guy comes with me" kind of thing.
This is the best version of Baron Corbin we have ever seen.
By far.
This also feels like one of those deals of, oh, I should have just been a tag guy this whole time. Like, they were pushing me as weird things like I was a king, and then I was so poor I couldn't remember how to tuck in my shirt. And then, like, all this other shit that they had.
Only people that hated that, and I hated it so much.
I mean, listen, you could do the gimmick, but like, just because I'm poor doesn't mean I forget how to tuck my shirt in. That's dumb.
Well, and it was like, you're a bad guy because you're poor. Seemed wrong.
Yeah, that was
my thing. I was like, you are a lot of stuff. Justifying MJF's behavior, but I agree with you.
He's no longer the manager at Applebee's. He's like, there's so many things that he's done that he has done in the past that have not suited him.
He's burned all those ships, Alex.
He burned all the ships. Remember that one time where he like hiked into the jungle and found himself? That was a weird moment they never paid off on. Anyway, so he hiked through there was a whole path lit by tiki torches, and we were so worried. We were so worried about the tiki torches. Anyway,
we were all like, it's going to be Steve Macklin. And then he was like, no, it's me, but 2 inches shorter.
I think Baron Corbin, I've always thought Baron Corbin had the skill to be a really, really good, like, pseudo work rate big man. And now he gets to be the heavy in a team with a guy who hits a spear so hard he might literally cause internal bleeding. Yeah. Like that's a really, they work really good together in promos. They have good timing in the ring. They work really well with other teams.
Yes.
Like, when you have guys like Axiom and Frazer moving as fast as they are, you got to have the absolute precise footwork to know you're going to be in the specific spot you got to be in, or the whole thing collapses.
Falls apart. Yep.
This was a very, very good match, and Nathan Frazer and Axiom are incapable of beating the Wolf Dogs at this point.
Is established.
Unfortunately, unless you want to figure out a way to like build them back up, and I would love it if if they kept them in NXT through Battleground, because it's better for NXT in the long term if you give the tag titles to the Good Brothers, because they can be heels everyone can chase. would I be way more excited personally to see a cool storyline where Nathan Frazer and Axiom finally beat the guys they can't beat in the Wolf Dogs? Yes. And then what happens is the problem, because then you just got like, oh, hey, we're the little guys who were the champions, and we don't have a lot of good heel teams to chase us, so that's a problem. Anyway.
What if they took some losses, and then for no reason, Sami Zayn won the tag titles?
Oh, I like that idea, actually. That's good.
We are unhinged. We went through a nice little trajectory of Baron Corbin's career. Match was really fun. But I agree with you that it feels like a weird decision. And then the what's next aspect of, I don't want them to go to the can they coexist trope. And I'm nervous they're going to, because Nathan Frazer versus Axiom sounds like a fun, like 6 months of programming to me. I like them working together. This tag division needs a little bit of love. It does. And it feels like since the Creed brothers got called up and we got ambiguity between LWO flipping back and forth, Machine Gun, and why can't I think
Gallows.
Gallows, thank you.
Good Brothers becoming a permanent, pseudo-permanent feature for the next 6 months in NXT would be a very good thing for the tag division. Another tag team they are teasing, and they were in the Battle Royal, but they haven't had a match on TV yet, is Cedric Alexander and Ashanti the Adonis. Like, if you're not going to use them,
they go?
If you're not going to use them on SmackDown, make them part of the NXT tag division. You know what I mean? Like, Cedric and Ashanti are great. They'd be awesome in a match against the Wolf Dogs. You could have a speed, an athleticism versus pure speed match between the Blurry Boys and Cedric and Ashanti. Like, that would be a lot of fun.
For a while, because you just thought of it. So it's very new, and I like it a lot. The Blurry Boys. And I'm like, can you do that in 2K? Is there like a blur effect that you could just put on people for an entire match?
Well, you could give everybody Axiom's entrance that makes everything blurry.
Oh, okay.
Not the whole match, just for the entrance.
I'm still learning.
Okay. Tim McFall says, overall, really fun show, especially the tag and triple threat. Fletcher versus Johnson is still my match of the weekend, but the Meaty Boys are a strong second.
ROH was a bunch of fun yesterday. Fletcher versus Johnson was incredible. Mm-hmm. I got to ask Kyle Fletcher a question, which was very fun at the presser. Talked some S on the War Dogs. There's going to be a lot of fun matches coming, but Supercard was the pay-per-views are never the issue with ROH. I'll put it that way.
Right.
But some good stuff tonight. Some good stuff today.
So Obafemi is a future multi-time WrestleMania main eventer, a future, let's say, at least 5-time world champion, unless something bad were to happen where he gets injured early. He's so damn young, and he's already this goddamn good and impressive. Everything he did in this match, like all of the crazy double team stuff. We saw a man try and climb the ropes with a man on his shoulders, and then we saw Obafemi just put both men on his shoulders. And what I thought was going to be a combination electric chair drop, Samoan drop, turned into a double DVD, a Death Valley Driver thing. And I just sat there like this. Oh, what? That's what I said when I watched that. The double, when he got both guys choke slammed him, and then he kicked out of being pinned by both men, and then they ran the ropes. They just did a double Farouk spine buster to both guys. He's great. DIJAK is amazing. And I honestly thought right before the finish, you could put it on DIJAK until just until Battleground. Obafemi doesn't get pinned. Obafemi is pissed. Obafemi gets his one-on-one match with DIJAK. It is not fair. DIJAK's promo where he's the greatest wrestler in WWE since Jake the Snake Roberts to never hold a title. That is, I think, objectively true. and needs to change.
Sure.
So I think this was an opportunity early in Obafemi's reign. He doesn't get pinned. DIJAK gets to become a champion. He can have a few defenses along the way, but Obafemi gets his rematch at Battleground, and then he beats DIJAK, and then the reign really begins. I thought you could do the best of both worlds, where DIJAK gets to be a champion for like almost 2 months, and then Obafemi gets to be the champion again, 2-time North American champion, and move on. I thought we were going to do that. Here's the problem I had with the match, Kate. And because there's no objective problem with the match. Here's what it is. I certainly didn't feel this way, and I don't remember anybody else feeling this way. Where was the clamor for the Josh Briggs singles run? He does not feel like the Montez Ford situation, where like Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins are great as a tag team, but there's something about that Montez Ford guy. If he ever had a singles run, that guy's got it. He has a potential to be maybe a world champion one day. I love Angelo Dawkins, but what are they doing with Montez Ford? Just keeping him doing this. That didn't feel like there was this bubbling of, we got to see that Josh Briggs singles run. And I'm watching him, and it's not like he can't do the stuff. He can do the stuff. I don't find his character compelling at all. He's just a big bruising redneck guy. And I feel like there's nothing there to hook me. So I'm watching this thing, and I'm every time he would come in there with some big thing that admittedly, objectively, was well put together, a good move, he can do it well. Because I don't care about the character, I'm like, I'll get the fuck out of here with you. I want to watch Obafemi and DIJAK fighting. I want to fight Obafemi and DIJAK fight. And every time he got in the way, it brought my enjoyment of overall of the match. Every major thing that Obafemi did was amazing. But every time he would catch like 6 boots in a row, I'm like, okay, that'll put him down on the outside for a while. I'm like, I just want to see DIJAK versus Obafemi. This triple threat ended up being mostly Briggs versus DIJAK. And then Obafemi, because one-on-one, he'll murder either of these guys.
Right, was the story too.
That was the story.
Yeah.
So I honestly think DIJAK could hold his own one-on-one with Obafemi, and I'm kind of pissed I don't get to see it. Now, I love the finish. DIJAK gets to do all the feast your eyes to everybody, and then he gets to he
feasted all the eyes. Yeah,
all of the eyes were feasting. They were so full. I couldn't possibly eat another bite. No dessert. No, just the check. Please.
These eyes, just the check. Yeah.
All the eyes were like, just the check, please. No dessert card. I couldn't possibly. I don't have a room. I don't care if the mint is wafer thin. I can't. So there's something, and I don't think it's any of his fault. I think it's the presentation of Josh Briggs just doesn't feel like he's on that level. I don't remember watching him in the tag matches going like, that guy's a breakout star. They just told me this is a breakout star. And I go, really? And they never backed it up with stuff. He backs it up in the ring. He's good. But just being good in the ring in this setting doesn't feel like it hooks me in like all these other characters to me. I don't know.
So I think the ending of this match begs for an Obafemi DIJAK one-on-one match, which is great news for us.
Right.
Man. More TMZ from Philadelphia.
Oh,
right?
yeah, please do. Yeah, TMZ from Philadelphia.
I saw DIJAK on the street walking into WrestleCon, and I said ratio, and he responded. So hot scoops over here, okay? But he's very tall.
he's very tall. He's very tall.
Because he was very unassuming on the street. Otherwise, I was like, that kind of looks like DIJAK, and then I got closer to him, and I was like, that's DIJAK. One of the most psychologically sound wrestlers in wrestling, I think, that gets shown in stipulation matches. Perfect guy to have in a triple threat like this, where you have a guy who is incredible, but very new at this, and a guy who is fundamentally sound and growing and getting better, but to your point, doesn't have that like extra thing yet. We're in developmental, that's fine. I really loved this match a lot, and so much of it was the way that it was laid out, which is beautiful because I'm an in-ring gal. So the fact that, to your point, it looked like Femi could murder any one of these guys at any moment kept him looking really strong. I think DIJAK did a really good job making Briggs look good. I don't think Briggs needs that much help. My thing with Briggs and this is maybe we're getting this singles run because of the context of what NXT truly is, which is, okay, we know what this guy looks like as a tag champion and in a tag team. What does this guy look like as a singles guy? Might just be something they're experimenting with, giving him room to grow. Not only does kind of the like big redneck thing not necessarily like align with my taste, but it also does feel like we've just Ross and Rachel'd the split so many times that there hasn't been a story that's really for him that is not attached to the tag team aspect of this, of like when they were in the love triangle stuff with Horse Girl and Porn Countess. When all that was going on, we had that tension there that we separated from it and we went right back into that pitfall. And the reactions have been kind of over the top and cheesy in a lot of ways. So I don't think we know who he is yet. I think maybe he's still discovering that, but it does feel like it's not hard to be the weakest part of a triple threat with DIJAK and Femi in it. And I do think the way that the match was produced was very helpful in showcasing it. But I understand what you're saying. And I will say I feel that way about a lot of triple threats where I'm like, I mean, this is an AEW example, so cry about it. But like Hangman, Samoa Joe, and Swerve was one of the first triple threats where I was like, I am in on all three of these guys. Because normally when you have a triple threat, you're like, that guy's there to take the pinfall. Right. And so for me, once you're like, that guy's there to take the pinfall, I'm just, my excitement goes down automatically because that guy's already serving a purpose and I'm bored. So that was a little bit the case here. We knew what this was going to look like in that regard, but there was a lot to like about this match. And I love that in the use of DIJAK in NXT, his greatest strength shows through a lot, in my opinion, which is if he's in a stipulation match, he's really telling a story. If he's in a triple threat like this, he's really telling a story. Like right wrestler in the right context. Great stuff. I feel like we got a lot of that tonight, but Femi, man, generational talent, the future, the future.
I think we'd probably get DIJAK versus Briggs out of this, and then DIJAK beating Briggs to get his one-on-one match with Femi, which is fine because the match is between because DIJAK and Briggs have really good chemistry together in the ring.
Yes,
again,
they did.
It's not that Briggs is bad at any of this stuff. I just don't understand his push doesn't feel organic.
Sure.
And so it just feels weird. Like Trick, everything about Trick has felt organic. The people have been behind him as he has been moving up. It almost feels like the people made him get the push, and it feels the opposite. But also, JBL telling you you're great, like immediately makes me go, well, you can't be because JBL thinks that. So, I mean, JBL. Sorry, JBL.
No, JBL stinks. But I hear you on that, and I am. The other thing is he's in there with Femi, who's the most organic, right? Like we've been behind him since his second appearance on screen, which is unheard of. Which is amazing. So you have the most organic example in the whole wide world, and someone who is doing really good in the position that he's in. But there's still pieces that need to come together for that, for sure.
Yeah, I have nothing but incredibly. Femi doing some of the stuff that he was doing.
With a guy DIJAK size.
With both of them, just like insane. Just smacking people out of the air and doing stuff. I'm like, he's my favorite wrestler. Like You're
so cute when you talk about something you really like.
I'm watching him. I'm like, everything he does gives me glee. You know what I mean? That. And it's very rare that I feel glee. Obviously, it's not gleeful graps.
Well, might I recommend you go to Nigel McGuinness's Magic Show?
Oh, okay. Well,
because you'll feel every emotion.
Right.
We'll talk about it later.
So we got Thea Hale, Fallon, Henley, and Kelani Jordan versus Jacy Jayne, Kiana James, and Izzi Dame.
Love those Ames names. James
yeah.
and James. It might only be those two, but they were in a row.
It is only them. So Thea Hale tapped out Izzi with the Kimura lock. This match was all about how can we get Thea Hale in the ring with Jacy Jayne, and then that happened, and then it stopped happening very quickly afterwards. This is something they ran recently in AEW with Copeland and Christian in a 6-man. And it was like, how can we figure out a way to get both of these guys in the ring at the same time? And once they did, Christian just lightly jogged away. and it was supposed to, we can't wait to see these guys getting their hands on each other because of all of the animosity, the years of best friends and then hating each other. And then like Christian tried to murder Edge with a chair, like Copeland. So like, there was a reason why we were all, I can't wait to see these guys get their hands on each other, and then it became the cowardly heel running away. Not gonna give it to you,
yeah.
Right. It's professional wrestling. The thing of it is I don't give a damn if Jacy Jayne and Thea Hale ever touch. I don't care. I don't care that you made up a storyline where Jacy Jayne took her shopping for leather gear. I don't care about any of that. This is the most not for me of anything in NXT is all of this storyline. And I think a lot of the women, maybe all of them, I haven't seen enough of Izzi Dame to know exactly what her thing is, but all of these women seem to be incredibly talented with huge upsides. And this isn't a storyline that makes me excited at all about a 6-woman tag, unfortunately. So while I'm looking at Kelani Jordan going, that's crazy athleticism, and I'm looking at Fallon Henley, I think she might have the whole package. And I know Kiana James has the whole package, and I'm waiting for her to get a real push. And Jacy Jayne's proven that she's got a lot of character and can do some really good stuff. Thea Hale needs to stop. She needs to quit cocaine. I cannot get behind anything she does with this being her character. I know she's talented, but her just going is not anything I'm going to get behind ever. I want them to allow her to be a person, and then I will root like hell for her. But I can't.
I understand that, but I need you to be more cocaine, Alex, because that was incredible.
No, I don't want to do that anymore.
I like running, and I'm like, my thing is when you have that intensity and it's playful and fun, that's great. When you go 0 to 60 every single time, I get exhausted on it because you're not. The beauty of hulking up is you're hulking up. Right. The beauty of Danielson doing the like head shake thing is because he's 17 minutes into a match and he's trying to. You don't always need commentary to say that person's digging deeper into the well of whatever. Like those things tell you that story in ring. And I feel like when Thea immediately goes there, for me, it's kind of like, because it gets exhausted. I've seen it before. Mm-hmm. I was liking, we got like a whole 2 weeks of it. Like we were getting more sincere promos, and just from a dimension standpoint, I would like to see more of that just because I want to see more of what she can do. We know she can do this one thing very well. She's very good in the ring. Kiana James is the presentation is not for me. I don't need her carrying a bag.
No, the bag is not the bag is a problem. What she can do in the ring is not a problem. I think she's got really good emotions in the ring, facial expressions. I think she can carry a promo. I just like most stuff. This is the fault of everybody telling them what to do. It's a little
wrestlelicious is what it is, Alex. But this popped me huge. Maggie saying, that, of course, we're going to talk about cocaine around Fightful. None of us blew our nose. Let the record show.
Yeah.
There was no nose blowing. But she is really standing out to me in everything that she does. I know she's had a couple main roster looks. I feel like we talk about Roxanne and we were talking about Tiffany and we've talked about Blair Davenport being someone that could go up at any time or stay down here or whatever. We haven't had her name in those conversations, but I feel like she's closer than we've talked about. But it is because it's not only the bag, Alex. It's that with her moveset, she does not need anything else because she hits like a
right, exactly.
House.
Yes,
Yeah. It's an almost unnecessary tool to complement her. But this match was fun. It did feel weird that we didn't have more of what was the actual playoff in the story, including the finish. I assumed it would be there. But we will see where this goes. All the ladies look great. To your point, I don't think the creative did a good enough job justifying or reaching the potential of what their ceilings were for all the women in the match, but very cool that they got on the card. I will say, that makes me happy that there was this much women's talent on this card.
I was never your friend. Is just to me, it's more Tori.
Your problem from the beginning of this is not knowing Gia from Full House. That has been the issue from day one with this, Alex.
Yeah, that's true. So, what comes out of this match is hold on. Will Chisholm says maybe her gimmick is this is what happens when you drink too much Prime energy drink.
It's possible. I will never find out. Energy drinks are not my bag.
No. They announce, Ava says, if that tag match doesn't tell you that we have the greatest women's division in all of wrestling, I don't know what will. Well, the match you're about to have is better than that tag match in every possible way. So maybe that tells you about the whatever. So here we're going to have, she announces the Women's North American Championship.
Yes.
It's the same, except for the belt is not maroon. It is white. It's a nice belt. And David Filipich says, so excited to see a new women's title. Who should be the first to hold it? Personally, I'd love it to be Blair.
That was my immediate reaction.
Blair is somebody who should definitely hold that belt. I don't know if it'll be the first one, but she should definitely hold it. Jared says, NXT Women's North American Champ made my heart grow 3 sizes. I've wanted a mid-card title for the women since I was a boy. Here's hoping we get a women's IC and US title. I think it is objectively crazy that we're getting a women's North American title in NXT before we get a women's Intercontinental title on the main roster.
That is nuts.
I think that this is let's see how this goes. Maybe if this works out,
if this goes okay, we'll do it.
We'll do the Intercontinental title on the main roster. It's a test balloon. We're seeing, but it honestly should have been the other way around. Simply because the women's division NXT has a lot of talent in it, but the storylines are bad and the booking is utterly nonsensical most of the time. And I would love to see, there's so many women without a title on the main roster right now that I'm like, man, there's a lot of stuff you could do with the title reign for that person, but I don't feel like we're doing anything beyond what's happening right now. So it would be cool if you saw that up on the main roster. Here, I'm looking at around and going, maybe a mid-card title is what Kiana James or Fallon Henley or Blair or Sol Ruka, maybe they need a title reign, and they're not getting pushed to the main thing right now because we also have Julia coming in, who is seen in the crowd with William Regal and Rossy. Julia feels like, and I don't honestly know. She's going to NXT first, and I don't think that's a problem. A lot of great women have come in and gone to NXT and then made the main roster. But I don't know how long she'll stay there, but I think that 90% of her time there should be as the champion. She's Julia, and I think you can have a lot of people chase her, and I think you can have a North American title for the ladies for most of them to fight over, while Julia is your champ, is your big boss that nobody can beat, because again, it's Julia. I think maybe the mid-card title is a thing you introduce to have most of the women's roster fight over, because Julia is going to be the champ after I think Julia beats Roxanne for it.
Sure.
Spoiler, Roxanne beats Lyra, and then that's the thing. So, yeah.
So I will always be happy when women get stuff that men get to default to. I'm very tired of women having to earn stuff that men just get. Screen time, titles, whatever. So the more even the divisions, the more excited I am. That being said, it is an extremely fair criticism that past Mandy Rose until now, the title reigns have not been great for the women.
Straight up bad.
The
women's title in NXT has been almost utterly cursed since Mandy Rose was fired. Yes. Considering the booking of all the women, I'm not saying women who the champions weren't great. I'm just saying, like, the booking of it has been objectively bad.
It has, and it has been bad. Roxanne has used it to turn herself heel. It was so bad. Corey alluded to it before that people felt like she got shortchanged. Maybe this is a make good of sorts. Tiffany's, the weird thing with Becky happened and they capitalized on a moment. And I like when people capitalize on moments.
Right.
Indy Hartwell's was weird. Lyra's never felt like it clicked in, partly due to the booking, partly because it feels like maybe she got hot shotted there. I don't know. So I don't want another title that has bad booking, but there's a lot of really wonderful things about this. One, NXT does a really good job of giving women a ton of time on television. We had 4 women's matches on Tuesday that objectively rules.
That's great.
That's awesome. So the more stakes you have for that, the better. They took away the tag titles, so putting something else that has automatic stakes back in there is good. I'm also a big, just from a preferential standpoint, I like when you have, like you were saying, a dominant champion that doesn't defend as much and a workhorse champion where you can throw maybe hot potato even a little bit. And I also like when you have one heel and one face champion, when you have competing titles like that. That's just me. That's just what I like. So this allows you to do that. Now, where I also get nervous is, I've said over and over again, it feels like every heel is kind of the same, and it feels like every baby face is kind of the same, except they also have a weird job. So now we're seeing some of that get broken up. Gigi feels very different from Sol Ruca to me, right? So I hope that changes. It's more on the heels where everybody has to find the darkness within themselves, and that darkness is black lipstick. Stop doing that. So what I hope is that this spurs more diversity within the way that the characters are written and the tropes that we get, because it is very trope heavy. It's a developmental brand. You're going to want to be familiar with tropes. It doesn't always make for great television, so let's break that up a little bit. So I think an overall positive development, but Alex, we were talking about it before we went on air too, like the women's title picture has not been well booked. It's been bad. So don't also then have now a second bad title. You have a bunch of incredible talent there. You have a bunch of screen time, and that is awesome. So I'm all about that. I also would love to see Blair Davenport be the first one to hold it. I kind of feel like with Roxanne being a heel, you probably want like Sol Ruca holding that, or somebody that is a feel-good face holding it to offset that might be a better call.
I need to see more of Sol Ruca.
That's fair.
I'm saying, like, I think she's a future champion, maybe. It looks like she's improving, but there's just people like she was proving that she got hurt, and she's back, and I need to see more improvement for him. Like, slap a title on her. You know what I mean? Like,
that's very fair.
I think Blair is ready now to be a champion.
Yes.
I think Lola Vice could easily be your North American Women's Champion if she's going to be in NXT for a while longer. I think that it's a little easier to do that with the heels than the baby faces who need to like really, really connect with the crowd and do a lot of stuff like that for that. But
And it sets up chases. Chases are always good.
Chases are always good. But I don't disagree with your idea of we got to have somebody who's going to get a huge response, from the crowd to win the tournament they're going to do. But I mean, like, I think that they think that person is Thea Hale, and maybe they're right, because I'm certainly not in tune with the NXT crowd on a lot of stuff. But to me, I'm like, okay, great. But if she's the champion, she can't just be doing what she's doing now with a belt around her waist. You gotta figure out a way to make her more of a compelling person
100%.
than that. Wrestling with Movies wants the tournament to end up with Blair versus Soul in the finals to declare the winner. Which feels like something they would do, considering they already have a problem with each other. Put one on one side of the bracket, one on the other. What am I saying? That's going to be the semifinals. That's going to be the semifinals of one side of the bracket. It'll be Blair versus Soul on one side of the bracket, and it'll end up being Blair versus Thea in the finals, who've never actually interacted. That's what they're going to do.
That'll be it. Wrestling with Movies also. Not to steer your ship here, but these back-to-back saying that I was in the house and the place went nuts for Julia in NXT for 6 months tops, I'd say. Be very interesting, because I like hearing, even though we haven't seen it pay off, that there's more intentionality behind the call-ups. And I think with that level of a star, you have to with Julia.
Yeah, you do. I think that the problem with that is that we've seen people just kept in NXT for a long time recently. Also, we've seen them just utterly botch Saray in NXT.
Yes.
Utterly botch a woman coming from Japan in NXT recently. Just fully had no clue what they were doing with Saray, who's a brilliant wrestler.
Amazing.
And they're like,
amazing.
What if she was a schoolgirl some of the time and then like used a magical medallion? Like it didn't work. It may work for anime. It did not work for professional wrestling in America. So we'll see what they do. I think Julia will overcome all of that. However, we'll see what they want to do with her when she's there.
Another chat from Will saying after Roxanne won the title, they made sure to put the camera on Julia. So I think that's who is taking the title off of her. But in like 4 months, I agree. I don't think Roxanne needs to have a super long reign. I think she's probably main roster bound sooner than later, but I think it's smart that they want to have an opening for that. I would be shocked if that opening wasn't SummerSlam Survivor Series-ish.
Right. The next major things they're doing for NXT is Battleground at the end of May, which is a standalone for them. And then they're part of the Money in the Bank weekend, Heatwave in Toronto. I think that might be, because the next one of these where they're like doing it as a part of the whole weekend thing. I think you might see them do a big Julia versus Roxanne match at Heatwave in Toronto.
It's a wave of heat, Alex.
Yeah, it's a wave of heat. Roxanne Perez
I love us.
Defeated Lyra Valkyria.
She did.
With a label lock after a Pop Rocks. I was watching this whole thing, and I was like, if I saw this match out of context without the build to this
you'd be rooting for Roxanne.
Well, no, not necessarily that, but like I would be able to enjoy this match 100% entirely without any of that stuff. But the fact that like you could do this, you could put the title back on Roxanne here in this match and make her maybe not what Drew is now, but what Drew was a month ago, where like he has a point, and like, yeah, he's kind of being a dick to the champion, but he wants the champion's title.
Yeah.
And that's it. You didn't have to do the whole, now I'm a heel, so now I talk like this. And it is the same heel character they give to every woman who turns heel in NXT. And I want to see something, because I know Roxanne can deliver more than that. In the ring, she's got everything. She was wrestling heel in the match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, that's fine. That's great. But she didn't have to do all of the heel mannerisms that they've instructed her to do to play a heel character. She was just wrestling heel. And that, if that's what you want to, let's see how Roxanne wrestles heel as opposed to wrestling from underneath. And they showed us that, and she can do it, and she's great. I'm so happy Roxanne's the champion.
Yes.
Until she comes out and she goes, all you people promo on Tuesday. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, that's the problem, is that we're watching a program in NXT who wants everybody to be able to do all the things. Here is the bog standard thing. We need you to be able to hit all these beats before we can let you branch out. And I know Roxanne can do it. They should know that. They shouldn't make her run the paces with all this simple stuff. She's great. The match was excellent. I thought Lyra and her had a very good match. The match, obviously, Shawn Michaels couldn't. I don't know where Seth Miles came from.
Seth Meyers runs NXT now.
Seth Meyers. Thank you. Shawn Michaels couldn't help himself and had to send Tatum Paxley out there to do nothing.
That was really weird.
I had no idea why she was there except for her to conk heads with Lyra, which didn't actually affect the end of the match.
No.
There's no reason to send Tatum out there. It actively takes away from the match. Just let these two brilliant women have a very good match together. I have problems with Lyra, and I have had problems with her title reign. It does not stem from her in-ring work. I do not like at all the presentation of Roxanne as this heel thing. That does not change that she's a brilliant in-ring worker. Yeah. So many great technical counters, and it was a really, really great match. I love her keeping coming back to that crossface, to just it's not enough to beat you. I'm going to punish you. Some really, really great stuff. I'm really happy Roxanne's the champion. I have to go, okay, now what? Now what do they do? What do they do now? Just going to have her come out there and be mean to the crowd for a while and cut an all you people promo. And then what's her first challenge? Is her first challenge going to be against Tatum Paxley, who hasn't won a singles match in 2 years? Probably. And that's a problem moving forward. That's why I say these have great women who are on the roster. They just can't book a women's title reign well. I will happily eat my words if they book the Roxanne women's title reign. I would love that. I would love that. Wrong. It would be the first time that I've been wrong about women's title reign in a very long time.
I agree almost 100% like with everything you said. I thought the match in ring was super, super fun. I thought it was the best Lyra looked maybe in her reign as well, since the Becky match, since she won it. Very, very fun. I'm very impressed by Roxanne's ability to translate her moveset to being heel. Because even when she was doing stuff at ROH, she's a natural babyface. And she's very tiny. So the wrestling underneath thing is a common... Wrestling underneath underdog babyface is a trope that has been troped to death in WWE. But man, when it hits with the right person, it hits. Sami Zayn, for example, to me, should always be in that role. He's great at it. Roxanne is great at it. And she was doing it in ROH. And she was doing it a lot. And so to see this switch from her is just work that I wasn't even familiar with. Having followed her before NXT, that I thought was very, very well done. Very sound. I love the finish. Adding that onto the Pop Rocks, since she's turned heel, has been great. Love this match with you on Tatum Paxley. Ultimate bag getter, though. I'll give her that. She'll cry out from under a table for a payday. She gets herself on this PLA. I don't know if she's talking to Jeff Jarrett. I don't know what's going on.
I think she should, like, afterwards she was like, hey, I want to thank you guys for getting me on a PLA like Lexus King.
I was just gonna say they could have like a little mix tag situation going on.
That's good.
Hasn't won a singles match in 2 years, makes it onto PLA. God bless her. Or won a singles match in 2 years. So much muddiness around the relationship with her and Lyra. I assume that's gonna be the feud. But she didn't cost Lyra, really, to your point. So it's very weird. I don't know what to make of that aspect of it, but from an in-ring perspective, it was great. The chemistry between the two of them was awesome. I'm bummed for Lyra because I feel like this was probably the best match of her reign since she won it, and now it's at the end, which is a bummer. But you're 100%. I'm with you on the in-ring of both of these women is fantastic. Roxanne doing the Drew thing that you and I have both talked about. Like, she's the prodigy. Just make it that easy. Just lean into the prodigy thing. And Lyra, I think, I don't want to say needs to go back to the drawing board, but they do need to figure out something to click in a little better, because it feels like she was hot-shotted to this, and it wasn't the right time for her.
There was a lot of when she first showed up as she was the Morrigan. She was the spirit of the damned from the battlefields of the Celts, and like she was like every feather on her back was from a battle she had won or something, and they really got away from that. There was a darkness to her. I don't need her to be a goth, you know what I mean? But like, there's something that you could go back to that doesn't, because it just doesn't. I don't know. There's not something that's not connecting with me with Lyra as the character. But I think she's done some really great stuff in the ring, especially today. I thought it was excellent.
Yes,
I thought of her selling was very, very good. Yeah, I want to see different and more fleshed out characters for the women in NXT. Not
they just have weird jobs. That's all they do.
Not the weird jobs, not horse girl and cocaine co-ed and surfer gal. I just want them to have like actual people. You know
why? Because they can't even rhyme any of those things with Wrestlelicious. And if you're gonna have weird jobs, you got to rhyme it with Wrestlelicious. Right. If you don't know what Wrestlelicious is, you're welcome. Go look it up. It is brilliant.
No, it's fine. Wrestling with Movies says this match was Becky versus Sasha Unstoppable coded. Yes, it had a lot of that to it. This did feel like the old women's takeover matches. This one did.
This was when Corey was saying he was hearing it felt like a takeover. This was the only point where I kind of felt that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wrestling Movie says, I've always thought Roxy should have been the main roster bound, but I've been a huge fan of her heel turn. Agree to disagree. And I think it's great that she's champion again. That I fully agree with. Yes. I think it's great that she's champion again. I think it was nonsensical and horrible that they took it off of her the way that they did, when they did, and then did not have her just win a tournament to get it back. I have no idea why they did what they did with her. I'm so happy she's champion again. They have an opportunity to get it right. My problem is I think they will fail miserably at getting it right, because I do not think they are capable of doing that.
Other than everything they've showed us.
Yeah. There we go. My feathers fall off due to lack of stitches, and Lyra, baby, is Wrestlelicious. Will Chisholm says, just remember, it's not as bad as this whole Chris Jericho stuff and 60-year-old Billy Gunn beating up Jay White. Who booked this match? The Click in 97?
Jay White losing to Billy Gunn is what I would call unacceptable. And not a fan of this Jericho run. I know Alex is, but...
Oh, I love it. Did you buy that painting? I hope you bought the painting.
No, just threw it in the garbage. I thought I'd cut out the middleman.
Probably a good idea. My favorite thing on the show, I think, was Dragunov versus Tony D'Angelo.
This was... it does not surprise me to hear you say this. And this, I had high expectations for this, and this still surpassed them.
Right. I think Dragunov is one of the very best in the world. And Tony D'Angelo, I'm really interested to see if and when he were to ever drop the gimmick, like what he would be like as just, I don't know, an amateur wrestler from Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Like, it was not the whole thing, not the mafia crap, because like in the ring, like he's really good at this. And I think there's a lot of people who dismiss him entirely because he's like, you know, a Sopranos extra. And they're like, that obviously he can't be good at this, otherwise he wouldn't be running around with his gimmick. But he's really good at like suplexes and counters, and he's great at selling and taking bumps, and he's really good. And so you put him in the ring with Dragunov, who is small enough for him to throw really far, and hard hitting,
unbelievable seller,
and an unbelievable seller. And then he hits so hard back that whenever he rocks Tony D. Tony D gets to stumble in fun ways and sell back toward him. This is a really, really great in-ring match that I think had a very cool storyline leading up to it of this whole thing. I could end you at any time I wanted outside the ring, but I'm going to do it inside the ring. But I'm going to do it honorably. Like, there was this really cool thing about how every time Stax wanted to get involved, give him the brass knuckles, attack him where the ref wasn't looking or whatever, Tony D's like, no, this is my fight. I'm not going to do it that way. And that ultimately cost him the match, but it gained him, I think, the respect of an amazing champion. And I think there's a lot of stuff they can do coming out of this for both characters. But I think that the match itself was excellent, hard hitting and brutal. And nobody thought Tony D was winning it. No. So I thought they did a good job not like putting in 5 false finishes where we all knew that third hand was not coming down. They gave you one, and then they moved on from it because they knew what it was. It was mostly about beating the hell out of him to get to that one false finish. And when that didn't happen, he had one more thing he could throw at him, which was his awesome fisherman's twisting neckbreaker thing. But every time he tried it, Ilja fought out of it. And then the Torpedo Moscow to the back of the dome, and then a super H-bomb. The third one that he suffered in the night, going through the table, was crazy. This was a really great tag match. And I think it was the best. Sorry, title match. I don't know why I said tag.
It would have been a terrible tag match because there were only 2 guys in the whole time.
Nobody tagged in. Like, really didn't even come down to the ring with anybody in his corner. That would have been weird. It was a great title match, and I think that that if it had been the main event, absent the biggest match ever, it certainly would have deserved it. Like, it was one of those things. It was not like we're gonna give Ilja Tony D, so it's not really a title match. This match lived up to everything.
This was really, really great. I'm glad that Tony D'Angelo got to have a match like this because I hope it opens some eyes. Every time I see him in there, my Eddie Kingston dream match alarm bells just start flashing in my head, mostly because of that fisherman's neck breaker. But I really, really enjoyed this. I loved it did feel like we got an expression of what this was building to your point, because Tony D is so interesting because is it fair to say he's a tweener? Like, he's a mob boss, but he has like standards of himself almost. So there's like this complexity of, whilst some things about it can feel extremely cartoonish, like it becomes grounded when he does things in the ring. And I really appreciate. If you can ground a wacky gimmick once you're in the ring through just the wrestling part, it becomes something really special. And I think we got that tonight. I really liked. I mean, if you told me I think Ilja Dragunov is the best wrestler on earth, I would have a very hard time arguing with you. Like, I would still say it's Will Ospreay, but I can't say you're wrong in that. This guy does every aspect of professional wrestling extraordinarily well. And I mean extraordinarily well. I wish he would train harder. If you've seen his social media, it's just not putting in the work. But it's like I'm doing push-ups with 8 people on top of me or whatever. Like, every day there's just some new insane thing with an intimidating quote. But just his in-ring storytelling, which is my favorite part of wrestling, is breathtaking to me. I love the way he sells, because I'm not a Dolph Ziggler seller gal. That's not my favorite. And I'm also not the complete proportionate sell gal. Like, that somewhere in between thing that Ilja does is exactly for me. So a lot of really great selling in this. And but I hope people see that Tony D is really, really quite good in the ring, because he brought the fight tonight. And to your point, I like the way this match was produced. We knew Ilja was going to win. We don't need to go to the false finish well a bunch of times. Like, just let these dudes beat the hell out of each other. Let them tell the story that they've told so far. It's been one of the better ones that we've seen in NXT. And And I think they did a great job on that tonight, which is funny because we're going to go into the main event and I didn't have the intensity that I wanted. So I was kind of with you on the story to get you there, though we felt it was muddy, was clearly the priority. So it probably should get that. And if it's sending someone to the main roster, it should. And it's cool that Carmelo main evented to Stand and Delivers twice in a row, right? But to me, with no context, this cleared the bar for me for what should have main evented. But I clearly understand why they did what they did, and there was some special stuff that happened to that main event too. But just from if I was picking, this was my favorite.
Yeah. We got a Javon Evans video package. I'm very excited to see what he can do as a guy who just simply cannot watch Level Up because of the other timing of it. He's been showing out there. I've seen highlights of it. He's crazy talented and athletic, and I'm looking forward to seeing him on
some really great stuff on the Indies.
Yeah,
really great stuff on the Indies. Lots to look forward to
on NXT TV. Dungeon Master Puppet saying, "Good afternoon, SGS. I love you. Everything sucks. We love you too." Member for 7 months. Dungeon Master of Puppets.
Appreciate you.
So, the main event is Trick versus Melo. Trick is ridiculously over. The entire crowd, a huge pop for Trick. He's huge.
Everything we said about Briggs not being an organic build, and you saying Trick is an organic build, this is why organic wins.
And versus Carmelo. Carmelo coming out with this really cool new like Black Panther inspired gear. I don't know, man. I wrote a joke. I wrote up ahead of time all these
airplane food.
Oh no, all these questions about the matches on the WrestleMania 1 card because I wrote out the description for our show tonight. One of the questions I was like, did this grudge match between LA Knight and AJ Styles start with a lockup? And this match started with a lockup.
It did.
These guys hate each other. They can't stand each other. They've been fighting all the time. They're like anytime it's on site with these two guys. Lockup.
Weird.
And from then, everything kind of just. I mean, it was fine. This felt like the beginning of a trilogy. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like.
I'm glad you called out the lockup because this was. These guys hate each other, and they specifically said, like, to the referees, use your discretion. And they only did that for extremely obvious things, right? Like chairs or whatever.
Right.
So that idea of pushing the line didn't really come into play because they were like, does that make sense? Like, if you're just over the line and the ref lets it go, you can't push the line.
Right.
So it didn't seem like it was personal. It just seemed like there were instruments around that were being used for this. So I'm with you. It didn't have it didn't kick into the gear that I thought it was going to kick into.
Well, especially because this has been building since
October.
Like even earlier than that, like Melo had the idea to do what he did to Trick Williams, according to the story he told in September.
Yes.
Like, so, it just doesn't feel like this does not feel like it's been, this has been a story being built on NXT television for 8 months. Sorry, 6 months. 6 months, let's say 6 months. And the culmination of it was this. Not that this match was bad. It wasn't bad. It was
didn't have
match.
The venom.
It didn't have venom. There was no venom, no visceral, I have to kill you type of stuff. There was none of this. It was like, if I pin your shoulders to the mat 1, 2, 3, then I shall be the victor and you must leave the palace grounds. What the fuck? Like, there was no I don't know
why
man.
we time travel, but I like it.
But it felt like this was like two knights who had a disagreement over a maiden fair and had a joust, and the one who lost had to give up his claim and move from the kingdom. Like, and there's like, I gotta kill you, man. You tried to end my career and end everything. You ruined our friendship for this. I have a lot of pent up animosity for you. And it just felt like they were wrestling a goddamn wrestling match, which is fine in any other context, but this context, that's what I thought. And also, did it seem fast to you?
Way too short. It made me wonder
Way
if somebody got injured or something. It was weird.
It did make me feel like that.
And they ended it at 2:43, and I thought this was going to go till 3:00. I thought I thought we would have had very long entrances.
At least until 10 minutes until the hour. For 7 more minutes. You know what I mean? Like, that felt like it would, like, it felt like business was just picking up.
That,
like, you know what I mean? Like, here, okay,
part.
listen. I'm saying the match was perfectly booked. The same ref taking a bump twice in a row is a bit egregious. It's just a bit. And here's the thing. Melo bringing in the chair, but doesn't use it. Trick gets a hold of the chair and just starts walloping him with it. And he's the baby face. Obviously, everyone loves him. Like, it's like, no. We're settling this like men. You don't get to come in here and try and do this. We're not doing this. And then have him beat the fuck out of Melo without the chair. You know what I mean? And then when Melo gets the chair back, that gets taken away from him by the second referee. It was muddy. There was a lot of muddiness around the booking of the actual match. I thought both of these guys are really great. You could literally give them 25 minutes. They have the stamina. They could fight each other for that long. It could start off as like, the hockey fight thing, and they could build into like really trying to hurt each other, but it backfires on one of them. There's some really cool stuff you can do here, and they didn't do any of it. So when you build this thing, they build it as the biggest match in the history of NXT. And then they booked it like it was on a random Tuesday.
That is exactly what I had an issue with. Alex, I can't believe I almost forgot this, but I'll say this match did not have me standing on end.
Oh.
I'll say this match did not excite me.
I
didn't know.
Did it have you delivering on end?
I was not standing on end.
Oh.
But if you have trouble delivering on end, BlueChew.com code FIGHTFUL.
Is your sex life stuck in developmental? Well, get ready for a call up with BlueChew.com and the code FIGHTFUL. Same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but how about this? No awkward in-person visits, no trips to the pharmacy. It ships straight to your door in a discreet package. But let me tell you, your package is not going to be discreet when you use Blue Chew, and the code FIGHTFUL helps to give you that confidence, that performance to take you straight to the main event, if you know what I'm saying. When approved online by one of our physicians, it just arrives straight to your door. You're not going to have people nosing around with what you're doing, and right now you get your first shipment free when you use the code FIGHTFUL. Go straight to the top, if you know what I mean. Memorable performance, high spot, whatever other innuendos you can think of, BlueChew.com and the code FIGHTFUL.
There you go. I can't believe I forgot, but it's not good that this main event is what triggered me to remember that. That is not what you want in your main event match, but I agree. I'm very happy that Trick got his moment. I'm very happy for Melo to move up to the main roster. There was a lot of really good stuff here from the performance aspect from both of them. I loved Carmelo as a face, fun guy to root for. Dude's a heel. Like, he's a really good guy. He's a nasty bad guy. Like the facial expressions, and there was one point where I can't remember what it was, but Trick hit him in the back with something, and he just kind of like just one of those goes such a long way. Like, he's so good at pacing and controlling the match with his emotions and facial expressions and all those beautiful things. I feel like those came across more than the actual production of the match. But it did feel like we were just getting started. It made me nervous that somebody got injured or something because it felt like they went home so early. But it did not have the intensity that I was hoping for. God bless them. I wouldn't have that much intensity at 3:00 on a wrestling day either. But to your point, for the months of emotion and build that went into this, it just didn't feel like the payoff matched the build in that regard. So that was a little bit anticlimactic, but very happy for both performers. Very happy for Trick to have had the astronomical rise. Honestly, we've talked about it before that, like with Tiffany Stratton, it felt like you had Czar start to put the pieces together. With Trick, it felt like he flipped a switch, and all of a sudden here we are. Very cool he gets that, and cool for Carmelo, who's definitely main roster bound sooner than later, even if it is midsummer. Like that guy deserves it. He's put in a lot of work. It feels overdue. All of these things. So
here's my thing, because Corey mentioning midsummer. Maybe this is a trilogy now. Maybe this isn't the end of it. Maybe they're going to do this again. At least a battleground. Like I think that's a bad idea because Trick just beat him clean. You know what I mean?
He also just used the title to not have a trilogy.
I mean,
you know
like
what I mean?
I know it's weird. So I don't know. I'm not sure about that. But yeah. So that's that. I don't know. We'll see beyond it. We only have 2 puns for delivery puns, but they're good ones. They're good ones. Kim Gray says the UPS O's, but it looks like the Oops O's. Oops O's. Oops O's. And then Lieutenant Colonel photo, Degeneration FedEx.
That's incredible.
It's
well
very
done.
Good. Very, very good.
The only delivery pun we had was our Blue Chew read.
Yes. Yes. Well, hold on. I like that Alpha Bill says, I always think Alex is Charlotte flaring these segues.
No,
no selling them. Yeah.
We alley-ooped today, but you do no-sell me a lot.
I do. I think that's the gimmick, though. Like it helps. I think
you said to me one time, you can't keep getting away with this.
I did.
It helps the little sister big brother dichotomy that we
have. New Lac City says, Alex, my guy, and Kate, my love, didn't get to catch Stand Deliver because I'm in Philly attending other events. Kate, I hope I can buy you a beverage at Mania if you'll be there. Thanks for catching me up on the PLE.
You're welcome. I will not be at Mania, but I will probably be in town tomorrow. You can buy me a lime seltzer. How about that?
There you go. Darren Floyd says, I thought of a worst case scenario for tonight's tag match. Last night on Sour Graps, I did worst case scenario predictions. What is the worst case scenario for all of the matches of WrestleMania? And this is one I did not think of, from Darren Lloyd. Tonight, Cody and Seth somehow lose via disqualification. Like Cody, like they're strapping Cody behind his back, but he gets a hold of the belt and straps The Rock while the new ref comes in, and they go, "Hey, now it's not a no DQ tag match. You're out of here." And then that's why he has to place the bloodline.
Oof.
That would, again, worst case scenario. Worst case scenario.
It makes sense. That also is like a thing you need to do. That is the most endemic to a sour brand thing. My goodness.
Luis says they're going to do that just for Rocky to spite us all.
Yep.
It could be. All right. The Shadester says, watch you guys live due to work, but get to this weekend. Tony D and Ilja ruled. I enjoyed most of the show. You guys rule. Thank you. You rule, the Shadester.
Thank you. As always, the in-ring, very, very good. And at times great. Story, always a roller coaster with the PLEs.
Yeah. Yep.
Goes backwards.
All right. So I don't know. Tonight, after night 1 is done. Oh, we read that.
Oh, we did. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm not keeping up with my stories.
Tonight, we will be reviewing WrestleMania Night 1 whenever that ends, and also at the same time, whatever's happening on Collision will just be up here on the screen, and if anything important happens, we will make sure to let you know.
Yes.
We'll also tell you, oh, Claudio beat the Butcher, and then we just keep on going through. We'll do it like a watch along ish kind of a thing.
Ish.
So
maybe
have
Linda will
fun.
stop by. We don't know.
We don't know. We're not sure. Anybody will stop by as long as you send in a sour chat to ask for. I would like this match analyzed by the ghost of Dusty Rhodes, or I would like this match analyzed by Giovanni Vinci. Whatever you want to do. But thanks, everybody.
We'll see. Subscribe to Fightful Select. There's just so much happening. Shawn got lazy and won't even tease it anymore. His last tweet just said, just subscribe already. We have so much news coming out. So it's too much to even identify single-handedly.
We got to figure out. We're gonna figure out a YouTube link to. I don't know where that is, but we'll figure it out. There's not a YouTube link to last night's SGS. We'll figure it out.
What?
I don't know. Apparently, there's not. I don't know. So we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. Anyway, everything sucks, and we'll see you tonight for even more things sucking.